is up, jabronis? JJ back here from Run Pure Bets, talking little college hoops. Saturday, March the 12th. Been a pretty productive morning for me. I don't know about you guys. Woke up, went to the JIM, then got home, took a massive shit. There's really just nothing more invigorating. You know, you get the blood flowing with a little pre-workout. The legal stuff, not the illegal stuff. You know, I know you work out hardos. First of all, I just want to be clear on something. Like there have been some really good pre-workouts that have come out over the years, and people begin to overdose on them, and then they become illegal. The FDA just starts disapproving them. So be better, okay? Take the requested allotment of supplements, not anything drastic, so that all of us can venture from good supplements. All right, enough of that. Okay, so today. Interesting, right? We have some finals, I believe, and some more finals tomorrow. Some semifinals today. What's up, Spider? I need to take a shit too, but I'm at work and I have an energy drink. Living danger. Yeah, I mean, look. So I don't know what your deal is. So if you're at work, I'd assume you take shits in a public bathroom. Don't be afraid to use the handicap stalls from time to time. Especially if every other stall is taken. It just gives you that extra leg room if you need it. Obviously, if someone was to come in, you can just, get up mid shit and just migrate yourself to accommodate. But yeah, I'm either a first stall guy or the last stall guy. And the problem is the last stall is usually the handicap stall, which puts me in a bit of a predicament. But yeah, Best Pie, I'm sure you know what it is. And at worst, you could always, hold it in, but there's no extra benefits there. Unless, you like pain. So today, so we got a few good games on, right? I mean, Cornell, Princeton, UMBC, Vermont. I mean, Vermont's been the class of that conference, and they're dominating. Princeton had a great first half. Looks like they're getting caught with their pants down a little early here in the second half. And then we got some good ones, right? I mean, A&M and Arkansas and Iowa, Indiana, and Copen State, Norfolk State. I mean, Copen State, it's kind of crazy. Their record, I think they have 10 wins or 9 wins, whatever it is. They're much better than that. They've had some interesting strength of schedule woes, but Norfolk State's just been such a class of that conference that's kind of scared me off that line. So I was on Copen yesterday as a small dog, and they won outright pretty easily. However, the spot did scare me a bit, so I want to be clear. Copen's not a play I bet, not a play I'm giving out here. I'll talk to the plays I like, but that's an interesting spot because again, Copen does not deserve to be 9-22. I'd argue they've been the second or third best team in conference. But again, they've had one of the toughest schedules in that conference. They've had to travel on the road to play a lot of their games. And granted, they're not nearly as good as Norfolk, but it wouldn't be crazy to think something there could happen. But we'll see how that goes. What's up, Eric? Need a sharp play at the casino. So once again, I'm just trying to look what the current line is. Let me just pull up a few different books. So. Look, I've been saying this on Twitter, and I've been saying this all week to the guys at Run Pure. Indiana is such an underrated squad. I'm so glad that they won yesterday. Not because I bet them. I mean, yeah, sure, because I bet them. But this will mean that they're going to get into the dance, which is great on many counts because they've kind of been like the redheaded stepchild in the Big Ten. They get like no love from anyone. Woodson's done a great job. They're led by Jackson Davis. They have so much length at every position. They have shooters all over the place. They have great rim scorers, and they're very good around the rim defensively. Just a true team that could make some noise in the bracket. So it's nice to see that win. And regardless of what happens today versus Iowa, I'd put them in for sure. So for me, me personally, though, Iowa – so McCaffrey in this Iowa's such an enigma to me every year. Like every year they have like one of the best players in the country, and every year they just hiccup over and over again. Now this is not a spot where you would think they would, quote unquote hiccup, but I think overall this is a really juicy spot for Indiana. Now we know Iowa's gonna attempt to anyway. Speed this game up, and this game expects to play super fast. Like there's no doubt about it. The issue, so I love Indiana in this spot. Now I love them. I'll be more clear. I love them at 6 in this spot now. Let me just see if FanDuel has 6. At 5.5 is still okay. It's not as obviously as juicy as 6. But to me, I don't understand how. I mean, I get why I was getting this much love. It's a KenPom line anyway. KenPom has it 6, and FanDuel's still 6, so that's perfect. So Indiana plus 6. That's at FanDuel minus 110. Now, so the big thing here for me, and I think you can also dabble. I think you can dabble as well. ATF. So this is a funny comment, right? So Indiana cheated to be. I don't even know what this means. I mean, if you watch the game, the first half was so like one-sided call-wise. I stopped watching the game. Like, I know that this has happened in various Big Ten games, and I'm not one to cry a river on certain games and how they play out. But I think the foul disparity in the first half was like 11-3 or 11-4, and the game was getting played very physical. So it just didn't make a lot of sense. But with that said, the second half, I mean, Indiana is very good around the rim, and Michigan, really struggled to really find any levels of consistency, especially once they stopped getting all the chippy foul calls. So I don't look at it like I don't look at it like that at all. Indiana's a tough squad. I would assume with this comment you very likely bet Michigan, but we'll see how that how it plays out. They had help for yeah. Socratar, what's going on? How are you? Roll care, how are you? So, so anyway, so this matchup here, we know what I was going to do, right? I was going to go to their Twins. And Keegan Murray's been tremendous all season, right? I mean, he's been just very good both offensively and defensively. But I'll tell you what, Jackson Davis matches him pretty well toe to toe. And he is just really strong. And I think you could, so this spot here, look, I think that you could, there's a few different, so like I look at Xavier Johnson's prop at 15.5. That seems so high. I'll talk through some player props first. Jackson Davis at 17.5 seems very juicy for the over. Xavier Johnson at 15.5 seems very high. Now, granted, he's been shooting well, but his offensive usage is not near what it should be for a guy who's totaling a number at 15.5. But anyway, so yeah, you call it a double play, if you will, if you want to fire on Jackson Davis's point total at 17.5 over. Again, the added pace that I was going to inject into this game and the fact that I was really not super good around the rim defensively, Jackson Davis should be able to have himself a field day inside. Now, granted, if we get the type of start from him like he had in the Michigan game, yeah, sure, we're gonna run into some problems there with him scoring, because I think he started that game like 0 for 4, 0 for 5. And he was even benched by Woodson. But and first of all, let me just say, Woodson, I think, has done a really good job with this team. I didn't like how he coached that Michigan game early on. I felt like he punished Jackson Davis for a slow start and put him on the bench for a few minutes. And then Xavier Johnson got in foul trouble, and they just had no offense for like 4 to 5 minutes. And that's what allowed Michigan to spark a run. So I didn't really agree with him benching Jackson Davis despite his struggles early on. But I guess that's a separate conversation. But overall, Jackson Davis. So Jackson Davis took 8 shots the first time these two played. Still got over this number, and I don't think they played a second time. And let me just tell you something: Jackson Davis has been taking a ton of shots recently. So 13 shots yesterday, and he gets to the free throw line anyway. He doesn't take threes, so you can rule that out. But 17 shots against Michigan, 13. Like, to me, he's going to be firing, and you can get points against this team. I like that prop on Jackson Davis if you want to fire on it. But again, from a matchup standpoint, Indiana's going to have to do a lot of their work inside. They're going to have to do a lot of slowing this game down. They're going to have to be great in transition, which is going to mean that Indiana is not likely going to get a lot of offensive rebounds because they're going to be trying to run back defensively, which is fine. They don't get a lot of offensive rebounds anyway. But I think they match up well here. I do. I think that, Iowa, of course, is going to start pouring it in from 3, and they're an extremely efficient offense, right? I mean, that's kind of what's always, been the case under McCaffrey. They always seem to stumble, right? I mean, they always have a guy. I mean, geez, you could just go back year after year. I mean, obviously last year was Garza, right? But you can just continue to go back, and even before then, I mean, it was Garza again, and then Wieskamp, if you guys remember him. And then they had 2 bigger men. I mean, I know Tyler Cook was big there for I think a few years. And Bohannon, it feels like Bohannon's been there forever. Like, I don't understand it. Like, the dude literally feels like he's like a 9-year senior. And he's obviously a sniper. You guys remember Peter Jock, like back in the day as well. He was great. They just always have talented scorers. And this year's no different. But again, defensively, this is not as good of a defensive team as Iowa is used to being. Not that defense is always their one-on-one anyway. But anyway, I think Indiana's going to get a lot of good looks at the rim and a lot of good looks from three today. And look, will they stick them? I think this team's playing with a ton of confidence. I think Woodson's injected a bunch of different levels of confidence to this team, and he's only been here 1 year. I know Woodson got a bad rap from his Knicks days, but I think he's done a tremendous job with this team and elevating their skill sets. And this is not like a team filled with a bunch of 5-star recruits either. I mean, this is just a team that's playing that I feel like he's helped elevate, and again, led by Jackson Davis and a bunch of scorers like Xavier Johnson. And they're just a gritty team. And they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. I know that Iowa had a big win against Rutgers yesterday, but they went on some droughts throughout that game. I think the problem is Rutgers just doesn't score that well, and I know that's been Indiana's problem this season. But man, Indiana has really found their stride offensively, especially over the last few games. And I think that goes into today as well. I think this team, like I said, playing with a lot of confidence, and I think the number's big overall. So, and again, call it me being bullish on Indiana because I have this slightly at 3. On a neutral. So that's why I love the 6. But again, I'm definitely guilty to admit that I've been bullish on Indiana. Look, you look at them this year, like they had one bad stretch of basketball where they had a tough road stretch. They had some tough games at home. Outside of that, this team has had an elite season. So yeah, I mean, overall, they play good defense. They have enough guys that can make free throws late. I mean, granted, they're not a great free throw shooting team as a team, but they can put a game away at the free throw line with a few guys that shoot over 70% from the line. And yeah, other than that, I guess we'll move on to the next game. Unless you guys have any questions on some games, I'll give you my second game that I like for the day. I'll answer this one. So not a winning question, but who's your favorite college ball team to watch? So it's a tricky question, right? So I'll be honest, so it's interesting, right? Because I think if you take emotions into games, I think it's tough. So like if you're talking like who's my favorite college basketball team or college team in general, I don't really have one. I think it's tough to have one. Like even the Vikings, like I'm a fan of Minnesota, but like at the end of the day, I'm a rational sports bettor, so I don't let emotions tie into those bets. I'll watch games. There's certain things I like what I see. Certain teams that run really good sets, and I'm not so much concerned about teams that have a bunch of one-on-one ISO type of games where they have just a bunch of good scorers. I'm more or less like for instance, teams like Alabama, right, under Oates, where they run great sets and ultimately they just need guys that can make open shots. But you watch those teams, ball movement is so fluid in offenses like that. I think Kentucky this year is such a juggernaut. I really do. I don't like betting them, and I don't bet them on a game-to-game basis because I don't like Calipari as a head coach. I think he's a tremendous recruiter. I think he's a tremendous individual elevator of talent. I just don't think he's a great X's and O's guy. I think he gets outcoached in a lot of games. And he always has very talented personnel. But I think this year their team is so talented. Again, just watch them play, right? I mean, they can move up and down in pace as much as they want. This is a really good shooting Kentucky team, which hasn't been as common. They're very long. And I expect them to make a lot of noise in the tournament. They're probably going to be a 2 or 3 seed. But yeah, I like them. I know a lot of people have Villanova as a dark horse. I'm not as high on Villanova, actually. However, Kentucky is definitely a team I think has a lot of national championship upside as a 2 or 3 seed, pending how these final games go in the SEC. So call them for this year, and that changes year to year, Socratar. But I really like what I've seen out of this Kentucky team. I think the only thing, believe it or not, holding them back is Calipari this year. But to me, this is the most talented team in college basketball this year. The fact that they're not a 1 seed, I think, is a Calipari issue, because that team is again, to me, the best team in college basketball and the most fun to watch. Okay, so let me go through. Okay, so another game I like. So let's talk on Akron later today. So Kent State gets an awful lot of love in this conference, and deservedly so. And I get it. This line opened at 1 and it moved. To me, this became a pure number play for me, because for me, I have Kent State a little less than 1 here in this spot. Let me just confirm, a little less than 1 in this spot. And is it back to 3? That would be unfortunate. Yeah, it's back to 3. Okay, so I got a 3.5 DK. 3 is still fine. Again, not as good, but it's still fine. Because I have this under 1, so you're still getting over 2 points of value. I just think Akron matches up really well with this team. I don't think it's a – I think that – I know that Akron has lost twice to Kent State, but both were relatively close. I know when it was on the road, Akron kind of got their shit pushed in against this team, but this was a 2-point game with 10 minutes left, and Akron just went cold, which is not uncommon for this team with the pace they play at, blah, 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 blah. But this is a confident team playing right now. They closed out against Buffalo, which looked like it was going to get hairy there late. They basically went nearly wire to wire against Toledo, which was interesting. And I just think, this team's playing with a lot of confidence. They really slowed the game down. And look, we know, Kent State is usually a team that blazes up and down. They actually haven't been playing with that kind of pace. My big concern here is Akron's going to slow this game down, and Akron's a much better offensive team than Kent State. I know Kent State plays, relatively good defense, but there is a tremendous advantage here for Akron to get to the free throw line. I don't think they've taken advantage of that enough in the first 2 matchups. I know Akron doesn't really convert from the free throw line as well. But they have just a bunch of guys that draw a lot of contact. In Kent State, their biggest demise defensively is the fact that they let up a lot of contact on the defensive end. And I know in these types of games, these, I guess this is the actual ship, right? Let me see. Hold on. So this is the final. Yeah. So you might get a game from the refs here where they call it tight, where they don't call as many fouls. But Kent State is super handsy defensively. And again, I know Kent State's won what feels like 30 games in a row. And I'm not saying Akron's going to win outright today. It was a pure number play at 3.5. And 3 against 3 is still good enough. So let me just put that in here. You can get that either both DK, FanDuel. You could search for 3.5 because I know 3.5 existed. It existed this morning, earlier this morning. So, and this game's at 7:00. But again, this is a pure matchup play. I know Kent State's beaten them 2 times this year. But again, both games played a lot closer than the box score indicated. And there is just a lot of things about this matchup that favor Akron. I think, you look at it, right? So Akron, where they struggle is guarding the 3 ball. Kent State is awful shooting the 3 as a team. And Akron is really good inside, and Akron does not foul, and Akron does not let up offensive rebounds. These are all strengths of Kent State. So I just think, like I said, Kent State's running into a team for the 3rd time this season where they don't have matchup advantages against collectively. And Kent State allows a lot of points from the free throw line. We'll call them freebies. And Akron gets a lot of their points from the free throw line. Now, I know Akron loves to pour it in from 3 as well. And look, some of the things that Akron doesn't do well, they're definitely vulnerable on the offensive glass. I mean, that goes without saying. And they are not a good free throw shooting team collectively. Doesn't mean they don't have guys that can get to the free throw line and convert. They just, as a team, they don't do well from the free throw line. But we're not laying points here. That would concern me if we were laying points. We're getting them. I expect this to be a fun back and forth where I think, like I said, Akron has tremendous advantages collectively throughout. And this would be a good run for them. I mean, they've had a really good season, and they don't really have many bad losses. They had a few in mid-February, I think, but outside of that, this has been a good team, and they've had a great season. Can't say no pushover as well, but I just think that Akron hasn't gotten near the respect they've deserved in this conference, and should be a good one. But again, matchup wise, I like Akron getting the points here, and we'll see how it plays out. Hopefully, Akron doesn't kind of cave into the moment. They're a relatively young squad. They're one of the youngest in D1. So, but they haven't caved into that during this little run, and they've beaten teams better than Kent in this run. So, I like the spot. I like them getting points. I like it at 3.5. I like it at 3. So yeah, ultimately, grab this. Those are the 2 games I like. And then I'll give out. You guys have any questions on games? I'll talk through them for the next 10, 15 minutes if you'd like. But other than that, I'll go back to my regularly scheduled activities. Yeah, you see, Tim gets it, right? So Tim's over here watching from the stool, and he just gets it. He just gets it. So keep up the good work, Tim. Appreciate that. How many points are you going to beat DC by? At least 10. So, I said this to DC himself. Like, if he's a good shooter, he likely has a really good chance to beat me. But I'm going to get a lot of my points underneath the rim. I can promise you that. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm pretty polished under the rim. So we'll see how it plays out. But I expect to do a lot of work underneath the rim, getting to the basket, left hand, right hand, and scoring a lot of easy baskets that way. But again, if DC can pour it in from outside, that's going to be a bit of a problem for me, especially with my stamina levels these days. I'm not near in the shape that I once was. So, and he's like running marathons these days. So, yeah, I expect to be breathing heavy, maybe get attached to an IV mid game. But I'd expect a lot of easy points for me underneath, and yeah, as long as I don't have a heart attack or completely run out of gas, I think I should be fine. What do you think about Houston minus 13? I'm hearing Tulane's best player is out, so I can't speak. So, man, I can't speak to Tulane's best player being out because I don't know that for a fact. Did he get hurt? Did he get hurt in their last game? They played SMU, and I guess you're talking about Cook, right? So Cook's a tremendous shooter. I honestly, I don't know, and without knowing that news, I can't really say which one I like or not. So I'll probably just pass the game. So thoughts Tennessee, Kentucky. So it's kind of like I briefly hinted at earlier, Ryan. I absolutely love this Kentucky team. I think they're a huge dark horse to win it. And I know a lot of people also think Tennessee's a dark horse to win it. But look, Kentucky's just so much more talented. But, again, it wouldn't be a surprise if Calipari lost another one of these types of games. So, yeah, I do lean Kentucky at the 3, with 2.5, I think. 2.5. Yeah, I do lean Kentucky. We'll call it even a strong lean, but I didn't fire out at myself. So Davidson, that's an interesting game, right? So St. Louis, in my opinion, got a really soft matchup with LaSalle. And then they win in miracle fashion against the Bonnies. The problem is, when you see teams like this, you kind of start to get like those fate conversations. And St. Louis is definitely on the outside looking in. I believe Davidson's in regardless. They should be in whether they win this match or not. This is a tough game though, right? Because if St. Louis wins, there goes another at-large bid for another team. Because to me, you have to put Davidson in. They have, they have some decent quad one win. I mean, at minimum they have a Bama quad one win. I guess VCU wouldn't classify as a quad one win. But this team's had a tremendous season. So I think regardless, you got to put Davidson in. And if St. Louis was to win outright today, obviously I think you get them both in from this conference. And then of course, Dayton's in the mix. It just becomes a real interesting, I can promise you other teams in this conference are rooting for Davidson to win today. Because they don't want St. Louis to just continue to move on and on. But either way, I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think the line should be smaller than 3.5. I didn't want to fire on it just because Davidson makes their free throws, and that matters late in games. So I stayed away. Appreciate that, Sakratar. Much love. Any thoughts on Boise, San Diego? So I love the Mountain West. I can't stress that enough. San Diego State is a team I have not gotten right much this year. I don't think they have near as good of a team as they often do. And I think the Mountain West is a lot stronger this year than it has been. With that said, this team is so built to play this time of year. I'll be honest, this might be a hot take. I don't think San Diego's even like top 3 most talented teams in that conference. I think Boise's better than them. I think that Colorado State is better than them. I think Wyoming on many days can beat San Diego State as well. I just think overall, San Diego State's just built to play this time of year. They're well coached, and but talent-wise, I don't think they're even a top 3 most talented team in this conference. This conference is loaded with stud players. And I'm also not a fan of Brad. Like, I know Bradley played for California for a few years. I'm not a big fan. I think he's a very inefficient scorer. But he works on this in this system. And that's ultimately what matters, right? I mean, at the end of the day. And look, I think Boise here, this is all about Boise being able to stick their 3-pointers, which San Diego State does a really good job limiting. Boise State's going to have to get free points at the charity stripe as well. But needless to say, I think they match up well. I do. I just San Diego State scares me. I never get them right this year, so I didn't play the game. But again, I would lean the dog here at getting the 2.5 because I think Boise's just better. I do. I think that they've had an up and down year. We'll call it tumultuous, but they've lost 3 games in the last 4 months. This team is tremendous, and they match up well in this spot. Will the nerves get to them? Maybe. But either way, it's a very talented squad, and they should be dancing regardless of this game, win or lose. Came in late. I'm on for Tennessee and the tourney as well. Yeah, so like I said, Ryan, that makes sense. Tennessee's a good squad. They were a bit of a letdown last year. I think a lot of people had high hopes for them to really make a deep run last year, and they didn't. But the Big Ten. I'm really interested to see how the Big Ten performs in the bracket, because the Big Ten has been a tremendous conference this season, and they've literally beaten up on each other all year. And are they as good as that, or are they just top heavy? So I'm interested to see how that all plays out, and time will tell for sure. But overall, just I guess we'll kind of that'll flesh itself out in the next week. That's for sure. But excited, right? Tomorrow we get the bracket. Tomorrow night we get the bracket released. I'll do the show with Holden tomorrow. It'll be 11:30 somewhere in there. We'll talk through some of these finals games, and then I will probably do 2 different college basketball vids for Monday, Tuesday, because then I'll be traveling to Kentucky for Run Pure Tuesday night. So I'm going to still try to get that golf video for you guys on Wednesday. But at minimum, I will do a video probably Sunday night and Monday night breaking down the first rounds of the bracket. And then I'll be back Friday, so I can then start doing Saturday and Sunday for you guys as well. So you're not going to miss a beat. I'll be out for a few days. But again, we won't miss a beat college basketball-wise. And look, D soccer show is going to start tomorrow. If you guys are into that, Premier League and all that stuff, he's going to start doing a soccer show tomorrow morning with Rubio and Yami. And I'm going to try to host it, but I won't likely be able to host it tomorrow. A little celebratory night for me for the B-Day with some buddies. So I don't know how early or late I'm going to be back tonight. And that show's at 9 a.m. tomorrow. But if I'm back early enough and I get up, for sure I'll host the show with them. It'll be a fun time. So stay tuned for that. And of course, Spread Tyler's NBA rundowns. Keg's gonna be crushing it all weekend. NASCAR, UFC, and yes, we have Joey work back for baseball, so that'll be starting up as well in the next few weeks. I expect some division previews from him coming. Calling a few weeks from now. So looking forward to it all. Great time to be a sports fan. We're gonna have a little bit of a lull between the end of March and the beginning of the MLB season, but that's what tennis is for. And of course NBA, but I don't bet that sport. But yeah, guys, look, as always, gamble responsibly, stay safe. Thanks for watching. Thanks for communicating in the chat as well. And as always, look, run pure. I'll see you guys tomorrow.